This is episode 68 with Ryan Hanley.
Welcome to Spot On Insurance. Join us each week as we speak to insurance professionals, attorneys, regulators, and compliance specialists on topics ranging from improving your agency to staying on the right side of the law. Subscribe and stay informed on the effects of new trends and disruptive emerging technologies on your businesses and your industry.
Hi, this is Ted Tavares.
And this is Arlene Tavares.
Ryan Hanley is Chief Marketing Officer and the Editor-in-Chief of Agency Nation. He is also a keynote speaker. Ryan released a book called Content Warfare a couple of years ago where he points out that there is a battle taking place online every single day. It's not a fight for the fate of the world, just the future of your business. It's a battle far too many businesses are losing today. In Content Warfare, he challenges you to step up to win the battle for attention. Before bringing him on, I would like to take a moment here to say thanks to those of you who have become avid listeners of Spot On Insurance. Thank you for the many emails you have been sending our way. We have really enjoyed reading them, and to us, they are an indicator that the podcasts we are producing here are having a positive effect on our circle of professionals in the insurance industry. Beginning today, we're going to take the time to share some of your thoughts and insights, basically your feedback. The following email is a reaction to episode 65, Hottest Insurance Jobs with Louis Cohn. As this can be rather sensitive, we have changed both the name and location for anonymity. With that said, JLM from New York wrote,
Good morning, Arlene. I just finished listening to your podcast, episode 65. I can absolutely relate to having a position and being comfortable. I've been with my company for 5 years, and I'm currently in the licensing department. Your podcast kind of lit a flame to update my resume and to see/pursue what else is out there in the insurance industry. I love my position very much at my job, but I broke into the insurance industry with an end goal to become an underwriter. Appreciate the podcast. Thanks. If you've got some feedback that you would like to share with us about this or any other Spot On Insurance episode, please send them to socialspot@soiteam.com. That's socialspot@soiteam.com. And we'll show some love by sharing it with our circle.
Now, without further ado, I would like to begin our conversation with Ryan. Trust me when I say he's one of a kind, and I know this is going to be fun. Ryan, welcome to Spot On Insurance.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. I've heard so much good stuff about your show. I've listened to a couple episodes myself, and it's an honor. Thanks for having me.
Ryan, welcome. I want to get down to really the bottom line. I want to know, can the insurance consumer at this day and age build more trust with an individual than with a robot?
Wow, no foreplay at all, huh? All right, I see what kind of show this is going to be.
We're going to boomerang back to that.
Let's get into it. I will. Here's what I'll tell you. I have a concept that I talk about called the brackish water. That's where salt water hits seawater, and only certain types of animals can actually flourish. Certain types of aquatic creatures can flourish in a brackish water environment because it's this mixed solution of salt water. It's usually a very tumultuous place. It's usually very cloudy water, and animals that are normally used to living in either salt or sea exclusively struggle in this environment. This is where we are in the insurance industry today, because what you have is forward-leaning insurtech startups leaning into a new type of customer experience, a faster, more digital online customer experience, a more education-heavy, a more customer-focused experience than has ever been provided in the insurance industry before. Yet, as statistics continue to play out, human agents doing business the right way, using digital tools to create conversations, to provide services, the human agent who lives in the brackish water is still providing a better product if you look at retention and profitability numbers. So from my perspective, when I sit here, I say to myself, if I'm in an agent or I'm sitting at a traditional carrier, an incumbent carrier, I'm saying, how do I get more of my agents to use these tools in a way that is effective for them? And if I'm sitting there listening to this as an insurtech company or a technology provider, I'm saying, how do I get my tool to work closer with human agents? Because I think the winner of this game is going to be those companies and those individuals who can play with one foot in both buckets. Those are going to be the winners. And I think as we're starting to see right now, that's where the trends are moving. And there's just no numbers, no results to prove otherwise from either a profitability or a retention standpoint.
I'm going to step back slowly. We had Paul Smith, an author, on episode number 3. The podcast was Sell with a Story. And we know that everybody has a story. I love that podcast. I liked his book. And Arlene and I have always marketed with a story. Wherever we go, we always lead off with some wonderful stories. And I know you've got a doozy on you. So tell us how you got to where you are today.
All right. So like every single person who's working in the insurance industry in some capacity today, I completely fell into it. In my case, I met my then girlfriend, now wife, and we were both living in New York City. I was working for American Express down in the financial district. Nothing wrong with American Express as a company, but I was just, I've forgotten my number, but basically I was M2XTZY3 or something, like that's what I was to the company. I was just this seat number, employee number. And that's how my mail would come, right? That's what it was. It was not fun work. I mean, if you've ever seen Office Space and it's like how many TPS reports have you like stamped and pushed across your desk, that is pretty much what I was doing.
Well, that's just like the universities where your social security number, remember?
Exactly. So, you know what I mean? That's basically what I was doing. And I wasn't making a tremendous amount of money. And we had talked about moving back to Albany, New York, which is where we both were originally from. And I think my father-in-law kind of saw the writing on the wall because during Christmas one year, he brought me in and sat me down in big, high leatherback chair, like out of a mafia movie. And kind of like made me the proverbial offer that I couldn't refuse. I think, he didn't want his little girl to be married to a bum. So he said, if you guys are really going to move back, why don't you come work at the agency? He owned an independent agency up here, the Murray Group Insurance Services. And I teach you how to sell insurance, and it's a great career, and you can make good money and have your own schedule, blah, blah, blah.
Hey, hold on 1 second. Yeah. So this sounds a lot like the Matrix now, okay? Yes. It's like he offered you either the blue pill or the red pill.
Yeah, I can't remember which one Neo took, but I took the same one, whatever it was. Because I went for that ride. And I did that for 8 years. What I learned very early in my journey as an insurance agent is that I was terrible at traditional sales. I don't even know maybe that's not fair. I hated traditional sales. I don't know that I was terrible at it because now I actually think I'm pretty good at it. But at the time, I just like it would cause me like I would sweat. I would have like a physical reaction. I would start talking to myself. I'd put my hand over the phone and I'd start like shaking. Like literally, it was like my body wouldn't let me pick up the phone to call people. It was crazy stuff. Like literally like out of cartoon. So my father-in-law had this thing and my father-in-law is a tremendous guy. And to be honest with you, I think very much where I sit today is due to the way he taught me about the business. He runs an incredibly effective agency. Well, actually my wife pretty much runs it now, but he 44 years, he built this thing. His mantra was, if you're a salesperson and you're in the office, you're not doing your job. You need to get out of the office. You need to be meeting with people. You need to be, any calls you need to make, you can make from the road. Like you need to be out of the office. So what I used to do was I knew when that little $5 Chamber of Commerce coffee lunch thing was at all the local chambers of commerce. I don't know if everyone has chambers of commerce who's listening to this, but like the little business groups and they all had these little $5, you pay $5 and you go to this little coffee thing and you talk to the same 12 people that aren't ever going to make good on any of their talk. You just kind of rotate. So I knew when they all were. So I used to just waste time basically.
We absolutely know what that's like.
Yes.
We've gone to those Chamber of Commerce meetings.
That's a pretty accurate description, by the way.
Yeah.
I guess it's universal.
Yes. Yeah. It's just like, so I was one of those people and I was at all these things and I could always act like I was being active, but I really wasn't. So, okay. So fast forward, I'm struggling. I'm not doing well. I've burned through my list of 200 people. Everyone says make a list of names and 200 people and you call those. I burned through those people, and man, I was struggling bad. And one day I walked into one of these things, and one of the parts of the business I did like was that I really liked referral relationships, which is I think everyone loves referral relationships. I did like that, and I was kind of good at building them. Most of the business I was coming in was from other young real estate agents and mortgage brokers, and even a couple local young captive agents that couldn't place certain businesses, they would send it to me and stuff. And I would make sure, I promised them not to cross sell. I had some cool relationships going. Well, I saw two of those people at one of these events. And this is 2008, 2009. And I saw two of them that were on my list of people that I hadn't had a chance to meet yet. And I heard the mortgage broker, who was a woman, say to the real estate agent, who was a man, hey, let's just connect on LinkedIn. And they left the circle, right? They left a group of people. And it was like my, purple smoke came out of my ears. I was like, one, what the hell is LinkedIn? And two, why, of all the ways they could connect, would they say, let's just connect on LinkedIn, right? Why wouldn't they say, let's exchange phone numbers or email me or here's my business card? They just said, let's connect on LinkedIn, and they took off. And I didn't know what LinkedIn was. And even though technically, a millennial, although officially I'm in that in-between time between Gen X and millennials, the greatest generation ever, in a little 5-year window. But so even I don't have I have no predisposition to social media. I didn't have a Facebook account, I didn't have a Twitter account. I just didn't do social media. It's that it wouldn't be my thing unless I realized really early on, essentially that day, that I could use it as a tool to sell. So I dove into LinkedIn. That got me into Twitter. That then got me into blogging. That then got me into Facebook and email marketing and content marketing and video. And long story short, the day I left the agency on a $100 budget, so this is 5 years later, I guess, 6 years later, we generated 90 inbound opportunities on a $100 budget, and I sold 62 of them, almost to a T. It was 50-50 personal commercial, absolutely crushing it. Sky was the limit. But for various reasons, my days became numbered there, and I just sold my book of business back to them and moved on to Agency Nation.
I love it because you're saying that wasn't your comfort zone, was social media wasn't your thing. But when you realized the power of social media, you embraced it and not just said, but you just took action with it. And it really was a great ROI for you.
Well, what's great is the measurable results that you can get. You see what you're getting and you can say, yeah, this is the way to go. So oftentimes when people try these things, they don't have a way to measure it. But the thing about social media nowadays is you have so many analytics and so many ways to measure whether you're being successful or not.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. There's two things in there. One, I didn't have a predisposition to it, right? But I did figure out down the line that I did like writing. So that is something that I enjoyed much more than cold calling people. But the initial impetus was that no one was doing it. And I felt like picking up the phone and calling somebody, I was just the 7th insurance agent to call this business and ask them for a shot, right? I just hated being another person in line. That might be more of an actual life failing of mine, but just being another person in a row, it's probably the worst scenario for me. So the fact that this was something I knew no one else was doing, I could be very unique, very different, very differentiated. That appealed to me. And then I built the skills around necessary. I do like writing, but I didn't know that before I got into it. To the tracking piece, here's what I can say about tracking. Yes, you can absolutely track, but you can track everything. Right? The lack of tracking is not because of tools, and it's not because it's harder to track one way of marketing or selling versus another. It's because people don't want to track, because then they're held accountable to them. That's the God's honest truth. If you're listening to this podcast and you're not tracking your results, it's not because you don't know how to or you can't. It's because you don't want to be held accountable to the results. That's just what it is. And people need to be honest with themselves. It's okay to not track results, but just understand why you don't track them. It's because if your favorite method of tracking or favorite method of networking, the thing that comes easiest to you, isn't actually the most successful, the numbers are going to show that, and you're going to have to change or just openly say that, hey, I don't care that it's not the most successful. It's what I like doing. Right. So it's the emotional piece. And this is, I apologize, I'm on a tangent, but You called me right after my workout, so my blood is really.
That's okay. We've had coffee, so we're right there with you.
So I'll tell you another story. So I'm a year and a half into this digital marketing thing, 3 years into my career-ish. And my father-in-law and brother-in-law, basically my father-in-law owned the agency when I got there. My brother-in-law, my wife, and my wife's twin sister all worked there. So it was her whole family and me. So my father-in-law and brother-in-law sat me down and they're like, you're spending a lot of time on this digital marketing thing, like blogging thing, like, you should be out there cold calling. And I said, why? Like, I'm getting business from it. Like it's working. It's starting to work. And my father-in-law, who again, I love dearly, he is an absolute trip and a tremendous human being. And very sarcastic, but just his way. He leans back in his chair and he says, Ryan, we're hunters here. We go out and we get that business. You know what I mean? We club it over the head and drag it back. And I said, okay, that's cool. Let's prove it. So what we did was, and this is why I say you can track anything. People just don't because they don't want to or they're lazy, is because all I did was I took a standard sheet of paper, right? An 8x12. It comes out of your printer. If you have a ream of paper, you have 100 of them or however many come in a ream. I took one of those and I said, let's write down where we think business comes from. Okay. Referrals. Well, there's two types of referrals. There's active referrals where, let's say I write your insurance and I say, okay, this was great. I'm glad you enjoyed the experience. Can you give me the name and number of 3 of your friends and family who you think would like to go through this process as well, right? That's an active referral. I asked you for the referral. A passive referral would be you bump into one of your friends randomly and you say, you know what? I had this amazing insurance experience. You should try the Murray Insurance Agency as well, right? So that's passive. So we had those. Then we had a bunch of other ones. Someone found us on the yellow pages, which still existed then. The internet, except the internet couldn't just be the internet. It had to be our website or Facebook or YouTube or whatever. And we had a few other places. Centers of influence was another one. So like a real estate agent who sent them in. So we had all these anytime. So I wrote them all down. I put other on the bottom. And I said, I gave one of those sheets of paper. I made photocopies of it. And I handed it to every single person in the agency, 13, 14 people at the time. I said, any call that comes in or any email that comes in of someone that's looking for a quote, you just put a little checkbox, a little check next to to where they found us, right? Why are they calling? So That's pretty simple, pretty analog. Any agency can do that. There's even if you don't use the internet, you can do that. So I tracked that. And at the end, so I gave them to everybody. I reminded them incessantly. And at the end of each week, I'd collect them all and tally them up. And after 3 months, I got back together with my brother-in-law and my father-in-law, and I reported on the results. And I said, all right, guys, where do you think our business comes from? Because I now know. They gave me their whole hunter thing again. And I said, actually, 72% of our business comes from passive referrals, which is a tremendous problem to have. I mean, the fact that the vast majority of your inbound opportunities, and we were getting a fairly large volume, the size of our agency, that's a good problem, right? You're not actually doing anything. People are just so happy with the service and
people love you.
They love this. They love this. People do love that agency. It's incredible. But that's a whole different story. So 72%, 15% was coming in through digital. That's me. And then hunting and all the other stuff, all the centers of influence, that equated for the other 13%. So it was fairly obvious where our business came from. Here's the really interesting part about this story and about content marketing that very few people think about, and really using digital as a tool to grow any business, not just an insurance agency. This goes for carriers. This goes for MGAs, vendors, everybody, anyone who's listening to this, lawyers, whoever listens to this podcast. The really interesting part is I continued to do the work and I only got better at it and I only produced higher volume. The 2 months before I left, we did this every quarter. So this was something that we then kept as part of our business and tracked. 2 months before I left, our passive referral number as a percentage of total volume of opportunities, which had gone up substantially since when I first did it, because we had actually brought in 2 new producers and all that, and was now 79% of our overall inbound quote potential.
Wow.
Digital was still 15, and all the other stuff was now 6% or whatever the math is, 6-7%. So here's the deal. when you're working on content marketing, digital marketing, you're telling your story, when you're using these tools and really doing any good marketing, it doesn't just increase your new business volume from like someone who doesn't know who you are. What happens is, let's say I was using your insurance agency and I saw my buddy playing golf and I said, hey, Matt, dude, I had this tremendous experience. You have to call these guys. They are the spot on insurance agency is absolutely tremendous. You have to check them out. They'll save you money. They'll get you better coverage. Matt's going to go, okay. Now, 10 years ago, what Matt would do is he would pick up the phone and he would call you guys. That's not what Matt does anymore. What Matt does is he goes, okay, finishes our round of golf, goes home, dials up the internet on his computer, and he starts checking you out. And if he likes what he sees, then he picks up the phone. If he doesn't like what he sees, he doesn't care that his buddy told him to call. He does not call. So what happened was, as we improved our digital presence, as we became more widespread in the community, as people came to our website and saw a deeper, richer experience with more information, with more questions answered, with more stories about our agency, more stories about our customers, on and on and on. When they came to our website, they're like, holy, bleep, like I have to work with these guys. And Ryan told me to do it. Like, it's a no-brainer. Boom, phone gets picked up. And that is how we went bonanza with our inbound opportunities. It wasn't just people who didn't know who we were. It was actually people who were referred to us who wouldn't have otherwise picked up the phone and called us.
Spot On is sponsored by Insurance Licensing Services of America. Need help with corporate name changes, annual returns, or surplus lines tax filings? Feeling overwhelmed? If you're looking for experts in regulatory compliance, you've come to the right place. ILSA provides the industry with over 50 services. To learn more about the company and how they can help, visit ilsainc.com.
You are considered the master of content marketing in the insurance industry. So you know the insurance industry. And right now, the insurance industry is at a crossroads, of course. It's very exciting times, but we have what I call the IA, the independent agent, versus the AI, the artificial intelligence. And we are trying to put in the tools of the independent agent, as many tools as they can to cross that bridge and to just get to the next level. And one of the things about content marketing is content that's out there, like your buddy Matt. He's going to go not only research this other agency on the web, but he's going to go in there and go over all of the reviews on that agency. So the information that's out there in the world is so important to whether that prospective consumer, prospective buyer is going to actually buy. So talk to us a little bit about some of the things about content marketing and how agents can embrace it and how they can get better at something that maybe they're just not comfortable with.
Yeah. So the good part about what I did was, and what came easy to me is I have absolutely no fear of what people think about what I do and what I say. So like, it didn't matter. Like if I said something dumb or I missed a comma or whatever, I misspelled, I did a your instead of you are or whatever. If someone corrected me, like it didn't bother me. Like I just, okay, I'll fix it. Boom, on to the next thing. And some people get really messed up about that kind of stuff. And I can understand why, right? I mean, everything you create and put in the digital space is a representation of your brand. When we talk about artificial intelligence and some of this kind of stuff and its impact on agents, I think it's going to be a very long time before the consuming public is comfortable doing a full transaction with artificial intelligence. You look at, I'm not going to say that like, Maya from Lemonade is artificial intelligence, because I'm pretty sure it's not actually artificial intelligence. It feels more like a super solid algorithm, which is fine. It doesn't mean it's not valuable, but I'd really be interested in there and looking directly at like someone like their loss ratio. Well, we know what their loss ratio is, but like their retention rate and stuff like that. I think that eventually we all have these deeper questions. So here's what you can do. All right. So when we look at deeper questions where independent agents and human agents in general add value, it's a safety blanket. It's a knowledge base. It's an advisor. It's a guide. And we do this really well. Well, most of us do this really well in person, right? So when we're sitting across the table from someone, we're good at guiding them through the process and helping them understand what's important and what parts of their risk profile need to be covered and which they can use different coverages for and all that kind of stuff. All we need to do is digitize that. There's no magic to this. Like so I'll tell you guys another story where this really made hay for me was in the most awfully named content campaign in history, the 100 insurance questions answered in 100 days video series, which is basically exactly what the name suggests. So the quick backstory is when I first started blogging, I did it on ryanhanley.com, which is now a content marketing site. Like it's my personal site. Mm-hmm. Because I went to my father-in-law not too long after the whole LinkedIn story that I told. And I said, hey, I want to start blogging. Can I do this on the agency website? And he said, no, absolutely. But in either a moment of sheer genius or complete stupidity, he said, but if you want to do like on a different site or your own site, I'm fine with that as long as you brand it to the Murray Group. So I said, bonanza, right? That's amazing. So I started blogging. It took me 9 months to get my first inbound opportunity. I was blogging like twice a week, just as I would learn a coverage. I mean, again, I'm super new in the industry and you don't know, are we allowed to curse on this podcast? Probably not, right?
I don't think so.
I didn't really know any. I'm like, it's like words are coming to my tongue and then I'm like stopping them.
We'll bleep you.
We don't know anything about insurance for the first 3 years that we're part of the industry. Like it just takes that long to learn. So as I would learn a coverage, I would write about it. And it took me 9 months to get my first piece of business. The beauty of that was when this woman called me, she said, Ryan, I'm a consultant. I work out of my basement. I want you to give me a quote for my package, whatever you think I need, and just send it back to me and I'll do business with you. And I said, oh, well, just like a proposal. And she goes, no, just whatever you think I should have. And I know you'll be fair. Just give me the best price for the coverage that I need. Whatever you think I need, whatever it is, boom. And she gave me all her information. She was already sold. There was no selling.
Because she knew you. She felt she knew you.
9 months worth of blog posts and that who I was, what I was about, what was important to me as an insurance agent and what it was important to me and the value I brought to my clients. So I started to do that more and more and more. That started to happen more and more often. And as we would have our weekly sales meetings, I would, everyone would say like where they got business from. And more often I would say my website. And that I think started to agitate my brother-in-law in particular. And he said, well, why don't you start doing this for the Murray Group? So I said, okay. And mostly because there was a natural like psychological barrier. Like why, if I work for the Murray Group, am I writing on ryanhanley.com? Like there was some weirdness there. So I knew that if I could do this for the Murray Group, it would remove that barrier and I could capture the full value of the work that I was doing. So
you mean you didn't say, whoa, Pops here said that I couldn't, that I shouldn't, that I should do it on my own site.
Well, a year of hearing my site, and I think that they changed their mind. I started blogging. I look at the Murray Group's website. It's 2011. Still says copyright 2002 on it. And I'm like, we have to get this redone. They agree. We redo it. $1,500, nice, simple, clean, WordPress install, a couple landing pages, blog feature, all the stuff, ready to rock. And all of a sudden I get this meeting where it's like, oh, well, who's going to work the leads that come through? And I'm like, I'm doing all the work. And they're like, well, I don't think that's really, what if somebody like knows me and comes through? And I'm like, well, if they know you, I'll give them to you. But if they don't know you, then they're mine. I'm doing all the work.
They're mine.
like this is how I prospect. Like you're not blogging. Like, are you going to blog? No. Okay. Then they're mine. So management and staff had a little bit of a disagreement on how commission would be paid to staff, and staff went on strike for a little while.
Staff went on strike.
Yeah. So from February to December of 2011, nothing was done on the Murray Group website. I went back to creating on ryanhanley.com and still writing business and all that. And what happened was we got this really awesome case study. So we launched the new website in February of 2011. and there's this little bump, and
Hey, Ryan,
Yeah.
I just need to stop you
Yeah.
for just 1 second. I want to know where your wife was. Was she management or was she staff?
She was very torn because she was incredibly supportive of me, but at the same time wanted to be respectful to her father and her brother. And it put her in a very bad position. It was definitely uncomfortable for her, but she was on my side, so I'm very thankful of that. And she was a big advocate for what ultimately ended up being the conclusion, which was in December of 2011. They came back to me, and I was just like, guys, let me do this work. Just give me all I want is my standard split, like just like if any other referral came in. And they agreed to that, which is perfectly fine. So that's a note for all you agency owners out there. If someone else is doing the work, just give them a standard split. Like there's nothing special here. They're not special leads. Just let them write the business, then they'll do the work. So I got this awesome case study of what happens when you have a website and you don't do anything on it. It's this flat, terrible line of death. And it was 72 hits a week to our website, hitting our contact page and our homepage because they're looking for our address and our phone number. It was people who already knew who we were. And here's the rub, guys. Like, your website is a new business generation tool. And then there is a piece of retention to it. And if that is not its purpose, if it's just because you think you should have one, you should get rid of it. The $20 a month you're paying on hosting is a waste of money. The white pages, which are free, have your phone number and your address. There's no reason for you to have a website if its purpose isn't to drive new business opportunities into your agency. Like, that's the purpose of a website. So I had this great case study. No work had been done, 7 pages, nothing happens. This is how my mind works. So I get control, right? We're ready to go. It's December of 2011. And I'm like, man, I need to bring this thing back to life. And the only image that came to my head was Uma Thurman in Pulp Fiction when John Travolta jams, she snorts the heroin, which is a really bad idea, by the way. and John Travolta jams the needle into her chest, the adrenaline needle, and she was bursting back to life. I was like, I want to do that for my website. What I did was, over the course of December, I promise there's a point to this story. I'm very verbose today. So over the course of December 2011, every single person I bumped into, I said, if you could have just one question answered about insurance, what would it be? No question is too big, too small. There's no dumb questions. Like, any question, what's on your brain? Like, what can I answer for you? Just let me know. And people emailed them to me and put them on Facebook and called me, and I wrote them down if I saw them in person. And over the course of the month of December, I captured 147 questions, which I pared down to 100. And then starting on January 2nd of 2012, I answered every single one of those questions, one a day, every day, 2 minutes or less, on video. I posted it to YouTube. I put the YouTube video on our site. I put a little text around the video itself, and I did that every single day for 100 days in a row. And that changed the course of my career. The results were tremendous. I signed I think the whole package was about $50,000 engineering firm. I signed like a $25,000. I mean, we're talking 100 days. That's it. This is inside that 100 days. We're not even talking about the hundreds of thousands of dollars of revenue that we did from these ongoing. And still, my wife still gets phone calls from the videos. I mean, they still exist today. Here we are 6 years later. Like, I just answered questions. There was no rocket science behind it. They were, you know what I mean? Like, I just did my job, which is answer the questions that my clients have. And I struggle with, when agencies tell me they don't know what to talk about, that's an excuse. It's not reality. Reality is you just don't want to do the work, which I understand. It's tough. It doesn't come easy to everybody. And you need to do it, right? But like, if you do this work, and it doesn't have to, like I said, it doesn't have to be rocket science, just answer the most common questions you get in your agency. If you do this work, it will change the course of your business because people will find you, because no one is doing this. There's like a handful of people still not doing it today. And I literally gave them the game plan 6 years ago, and people still aren't really embracing it. More and more are. Like, there will come a day in the next probably 3 years when the market will start to get saturated. And if you haven't started, you're going to be working a more uphill battle. But there is still so much greenfield today. So I just encourage people, like, you don't have to do it on video. You can do it in a podcast format like this, short form podcast, or you can do it on text. Yeah, I mean, that's the opportunity. That's That's the rub, man.
So you kind of mentioned too right there, I was going to ask you is what are the steps that some of the insurance agents should take right now to embrace the power of digital sales? And you mentioned text, you mentioned podcasts. What else would you say is just a must do right now?
I mean, I think if you're not, before you do anything, figure out a way to consistently email your current clients. Just figure out a way to do it, whether it's out of your agency management system or whether you export your client list and put it into MailChimp or any of there's tons of email marketing systems and one is not that much better than the next. So choose one and just be able to email your clients and communicate with them, right? Encourage them to come to your company cookout or charity event or talk about your staff. I mean, I'll give you another example of good content marketing. Like any agency, you would get calls where people would be angry, right? Like their bill would go up or they wouldn't understand why, this or that was happening. People call for all kinds of reasons. And they call and they would be frustrated or upset. So what I did was, because here's the thing, people might call your agency, but you're still just like a face or you're still just a voice until you're not. Because today, most people don't come in and sign face-to-face. So what we need to do is introduce our people to our clients. So what we did was we set up a simple email campaign where in the alphabet, the Murray Group's customer service staff is broken up by alphabet. That's just how they did it. Someone would come in, and if you were a B and so Heidi was your customer, your primary customer service associate, you would get an email, not from me or the owner, but from Heidi. And it would be a little video and some text and say, hi, my name is Heidi. She did like 45 seconds. I like to ride Harleys. I live out in Catskill, New York. Here's the things I like. Here's what I'm about. I have 2 kids, blah, 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 a little bit about her. And here are the things that you can call me for. If you have an issue with your policy, I want you to call me. Here's why you call me. Here's how you call me. What it does 2 things. One, Heidi is no longer a face. I keep saying face. No longer a voice. She's a face, right? She's a person. She's a real tangible human being who likes Harley Davidsons and lives in Catskill, New York.
Yes.
And now you know exactly what to call for. So instead of that person calling your producer, annoying your producer, keeping your producer from actually doing sales, they're calling the person whose job it is to actually service it and actually should be servicing that account. So instead of everyone feeling like they need to work with the person who sold them the policy, they're working with the people whose job it is to actually do service work and are good at service work, right? Producers are terrible at service work. So this is another form of simple content marketing that's only going to current customers, but is incredibly effective in driving operational efficiency, increasing overall revenue per staff member.
But I think the key there is relationship, because I receive thousands of these. There are some people that are really, really good at sending emails, and they send me so many emails, and they're a complete turnoff. You could tell that they don't know me. It's a sales gimmick, and it's one email after another, and that's not what you're talking about. What you're talking about is actually forming a relationship with the people you're doing business with and actually putting your heart in it. Like you said, you answered those 100 questions while sitting down and being able to set up some questions and Q&As for the people that you're doing business with and getting to know those individuals. That will make a difference. And you can send them as many emails as you want. If they see that you formed a relationship with them, they'll open them up and they'll read them. And they know that it's not all about sales.
No, that's a tremendous point. That's a tremendous point. A big question that everyone asks is, how often should I? You should post, you should create, you should send as often as you're able to create value. As often as you can. If you could email them every hour some incredibly valuable piece of content that they found valuable, not valuable by your standards, they get to dictate what's valuable and what's not, then you should do that, right? And things like open rate and read rate and click-through rate, those are numbers that you can use to figure out whether they find value. But yeah, that's the limit to sending. There's no like formula for post 2 social posts a day or whatever. Anybody who actually gives you that advice probably is full of it. Like there is no formula for how often you should post. Now that being said, if you don't post often enough, people will forget about you. So, you have to be consistent, but within reason. But yeah, as often as you can, 100%, man. And I agree with you. It's at the end of the day, like you have to care. It is so obvious if you don't care. And And if you don't care, you should not be the one creating the content. And you should not be in marketing. You should not be in sales if you don't care. And if you are in sales and you don't care, you're probably not incredibly good at it. Because empathy and caring and these types of soft skill, emotional aspects of being a human being are what drive this stuff. Like, people will forgive 1,000 technical mistakes in your writing and in your creating if they think that you're doing it because you really honestly care about them. And and to be honest with you, that is what has allowed me to get to where I am. Like, I do care about the people that I'm creating for. Every piece of content I create, like I just care, and people have forgiven me curse words. And I used MF in a post, more like a public post one time. So I don't even know why. Like, that's such a faux pas and such a silly thing to do. But like, maybe you should just delete it. And I did. And you know what I mean? It's like, but it's like, and the your thing and too short posts, too long posts, like bad edits, bad audio, like all that stuff, they'll forgive you if they think that you're creating it for the right reasons.
And what you just shared with us is just so much about the customer experience versus the customer service. I mean, it's a win-win. Like, when you talk about Heidi doing customer service, it's also the experience for her is also better when she is relating to that customer, because that customer knows her because she created that video. She tells them about what she loves, where she lives. So it's kind of from both sides, from your side, that experience that you're having with that customer is just amazing. So Ryan, I want to ask you, what do you see in the future, like 5 years from now? Where do you see the industry?
I think I always forget if it was Jobs or Gates who said we overestimate how much change will happen in the next 2 years, but we underestimate the next 10. I think that the industry will look fairly similar in 5 years with much more adoption towards digital. Obviously, we're moving that way. I think that there's going to be more players who have this hybrid, brackish water mentality. There's going to be new startups built on it, new ways of interjecting the human experience in with the ease of digital options. I'd say until the and I mean, absolutely no disrespect in saying this, but until the baby boomer generation cycles out of being primary ownership in most insurance agencies, I think it's going to be really tough to see true change. I think that, and that doesn't mean that they can't own or be part of the equation, because a big issue for me is knowledge transfer, and how do we take the wealth of information that the baby boomer generation has accumulated over 30, 40, in some cases 50 years of experience in the industry, and transfer it to this next generation. But the truth is, when it comes to running an effective agency that's going to last for the next 20 to 30 years, the vast majority of them, I'm taking a broad sweeping stroke, it's not that they couldn't if they tried, but they don't need to. And frankly, they're not moving fast enough. So I see the next 5 years being similar, but obviously moving in the right direction with some new startups that are going to make waves. It'll be really interesting if a Metro Mile or a Lemonade or even a Root insurance can become profitable. If they can't become profitable, I think it'll look similar, more digital. I think 10 years from now, when AI really is an actual thing, when AR is actually part of our everyday life, when autonomous cars, probably still not autonomous, but very much a part of, there will be people on the road next to you who do not have their hands on the wheel. That's part of our life.
Or there is no wheel.
Yeah. I think, I don't know if that's going to happen in 10 years, but I do think that, to me, if I had to bet, I'd say 5 looks similar. Somewhere between 5 and 10, we start to see real seismic change. That would just a guess if I had to.
Okay. As someone in our circle of insurance professionals, what advice can you share with someone that's just entering the industry?
I actually just talked to somebody the other day about this, and I said, you need to make a list of the 200 people that you know and cold call the out of them. Like, just start making calls. Like digital is amazing, and I love digital, and digital is it really is, I think, a core piece of long-term success. But you got to write some business, or you're not going to be in the business for long. I would say get out there, make friends. I think analog is the fastest path to sales. I just don't think it's sustainable, and it's certainly not scalable in the environment we work in. So if it's day one for you, get on the phone, boys and girls. But But at the same time, you need to be starting to establish a personal brand in the insurance space and that you sell and all that kind of stuff and what you're trying to do and really presenting your values and stuff to the digital environment.
Ryan, from our chat today and taking it right back to the top where we started about whether the insurance agent is going to be able to compete and be great and just survive against AI and robots and all of the Internet of Things that are out there. The information that you've shared with us today is so empowering for the agents. And I think that they're going to be around for a very, very, very long time. So it's very good to have had you on our podcast. And I just want you to share with people ways that they can connect with you.
Yeah. So one, thanks for having me on. This was a lot of fun. I know I did.
It has definitely been fun.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I did most of the talking, but like I said, I came back from the gym all fired up. So I guess I was in a storytelling mood. That being said, I agree with you. I do think there will be less independent agents. So my true truth is I think the independent agent is going to become more and more important, even more important than they are today, because I struggle to see a digital only option like some of the companies I mentioned before being profitable without them. But I don't think there will be as many. I think that the herd is going to be cut and M&A is happening and just people are going to cycle out and they won't have a good succession plan and they'll just sell to a bigger entity and there'll be some consolidation. I don't think that's a bad thing, but I do think it's going to happen. So that being said, ways people can connect with me, Ryan@agencynation.com. You can email me. But if you're into social, just look me up on LinkedIn, Ryan Hanley. You can connect with me there. If you're into Instagram, Ryan_Hanley on Instagram is where you can get at me there. I really enjoy Instagram and private messaging and stuff is super fun. So that's an easy way. And then at Twitter, I'm RyanHanley_com. RyanHanley_com on Twitter. Any of those are perfectly reasonable and fine ways to reach out.
Awesome. And the name of the book, again, is Content Warfare by Ryan Hanley.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Please join us next week when we will be speaking to Rebecca Wheeling, the co-founder and CEO of Schedule It. She co-founded Schedule It with her husband Bob Purcell in 2013 while working as insurance adjusters. They both saw the need for a solution to help insurance adjusters handle claims more efficiently, for insurance carriers to increase customer satisfaction, and policyholders to return to normal more quickly after a disaster. So please join us next week for episode 69. We call it The Calm After the Storm.
This has been episode 68 with Ryan Hanley. Ryan, thank you so much for being with us.
My pleasure, man. Thank you.
Visit spotoninsurance.com, where you'll discover an ever-growing library of podcasts, videos, articles, and online tools by professionals for professionals to enhance your insurance education. By the way, that's where you'll also find our podcast notes and bonus resources. Please don't forget to click the iTunes link to rate and review, and let others know what you think of Spot On Insurance. Thank you for joining us, and we'll catch you next week.